Good day, I'm Jim Rondo from the Canadian Company of Pilgrims, Victoria Chapter. Today, we're being joined by Mary Virtue, who's going to talk about the Camino Sanabres route. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'm Jim Rondo from the Canadian Company Pilgrim Victoria Chapter, and we're going to be talking about the Camino Sanabres with the famous Mary Virtue, who's our co-host and also the co-coordinator of the Victoria Chapter. So welcome, Mary. Glad to see you here today.
Thank you very much. I am delighted to be here.
Well, we've been waiting to interview you, so this is excellent. And so we might as well start by saying, where's the Camino Sanabres, and can you tell us a little bit about the history of it?
Okay, so the Camino Sanabres officially starts about 2 days walk north of Zamora and goes to Santiago. So it's going northwest to Santiago. It's actually an extension of the Camino Mazarab that starts in Almeria, Granada, what's the other one up? Cordoba, and then it joins the Via de la Plata at Merida. So you walk from Merida to Zamora, and then turn left.
Excellent. So can you tell us a little bit about the terrain, how long the trail is, and what the trail is like?
Sure. The whole from Zamora, it's 368 kilometers, and as I say, officially starting 2 days walk north of Zamora. The terrain is varied, just like any Camino. The terrain is varied. Depending on how your feet are, sometimes you choose the asphalt road because there's no traffic on it, and you're tired of going up and down and up and down. So that kind of gives you a bit of a relief. But lots and lots of woodsy walking by canals, by streams, with eucalyptus, bird song. It's fabulous. I've done about 8 Caminos. That's my favorite, I think. I'd love to go back there again.
So it's a lot of quieter walks, not as urban, not many big highways and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very quiet. I mean, there are highways that might be highways. There are roads, they're in really good condition, but there are no cars on them. Almost like parts of the Camino Frances where a highway has taken the road traffic off. So I walked on a beautiful road that was winding up and beautiful views over a lake that kept changing all the time, with almost like a lake with fjords. It was very interesting looking down at it. And there wasn't a car in 4 hours. Not one.
Well, that sounds wonderful, and lots of walking in the woods versus highway walking.
Oh, absolutely, lots of walking in the woods, and the villages are a lot smaller. Like, that's the big difference, is any of the villages are a lot smaller. So you take what you get in terms of accommodation and meals, and there are many days between bank machines. So that's the other thing you have to kind of plan for.
Well, more important, is there many days between coffees and breakfasts?
There were many days we had to walk 10 kilometers before breakfast.
Okay.
To get breakfast. But you knew that ahead of time. You knew what the guidebook said, and you knew that you'd have to walk. So often we would have almonds, an orange, as much water as we could carry, that kind of thing. So we could make it to the tortilla and the café con leche and the huevos, revuelto, or however we wanted our eggs.
Excellent. And you started, I understand, from Zamora. Why'd you start from there? And is there other starting points?
Well, I went with my friend, and she has a son who lives in Madrid. So the obvious thing was have a night or two at his place and try and get over a bit of jet lag. and then take the train to Zamora. There is no direct route except by foot to the start of the the official start of the Sanabres route, which is at Granja de Morireda. So everyone just calls it Granja because we trip over the last word. So, you're going to Granja, and it's interesting actually, because at that town there's one albergue, as I recall. There were probably about 16 or 20 of us, and the next morning there were 3 of us walking on the Sanabres route, and everyone else was continuing on the Via de la Plata to Astorga. So you don't see those people again there, because you have a choice of going the Via de la Plata directly to Astorga, meeting the Camino Frances, then turning left. No one in Astorga is going to say, "Oh, you're from the Via de la Plata. Here, have a credential." They're not going to do that. You just turn left and pick up your credential in Santiago.
The only good part about Astorga that you missed is the great chocolate.
Oh, the food on the route. This particular route some of it was spectacular.
And is it reasonably priced like the Francais route?
It is. I did a calculation as I was kind of coming down that last hill, the penultimate day before Santiago. And in the 3 weeks of walking, I figured I'd spent about €500. And that's bed. We all know what bed is about, bunks, sometimes beds. And that also included 2 nights at a 4-star hotel in Orense.
Oh, so excellent. It's good value and it's very inexpensive.
Yeah. But the albergues, they vary as well. They're more private than the Camino Frances. There aren't as many choices. They're all quite nice. There was one that we walked into, went to a bakery for some food, came back and said, "Let's take a taxi to the next place." And we did. Because, and I emailed a friend of mine back here, and he said, "I did exactly the same thing."
Because you ate too much, or?
Because it was a room with 8 bunks in it, but several of the mattresses were on one bunk. We were the only 2 there. You had to go 4 doors down to get the key. It was dark. There were really no lights to be considered. It wasn't clean. It was kind of horrible, and there were no facilities. It was literally, you opened the door and there are the bunks. And we just thought, so we took a taxi and went to the Puebla de Sanabres. It was fabulous.
So in general, though, you had one bad experience. The rest of the albergues were pretty good?
Yeah, there was one other place, though, where we took a taxi to another place. It was getting closer to the end. It was a Junta albergue. We paid our money and got our sheet to put on the bunk. And there were 3 of us by this point, my friend plus a woman from Latvia, Anita. And we got up to this room and it was fine. Everything was fine, except now there's more people and there's more people and there's more people and there's more people. And it had just been the 3 of us bumping into occasionally 1 or 2 other people. And we kind of went into overwhelm. And Anita looked at me and she said, "I'd like to leave." And I thought, what a concept. Yeah, I want to leave too. Because there was nothing wrong with this except the 3 of us were feeling overwhelmed with all these people. So we handed back our unopened sheets, and the man very kindly gave us our money back. I'm thinking, well, keep it as a donation. And then we took a taxi to a place where there was a monastery. A fabulous decision, just a fabulous decision, because we got a tour of the monastery. We went to Vespers that evening, and that particular evening, we were sitting quietly. I think there were about 6 monks, and there were 7 pilgrims and 10 villagers, and we're all waiting for it to start. And all of a sudden, a tour group comes in. Okay, so there were about 8 to 10 people walked in, and we've all got our eyes kind of cast down, not in prayer, but you're cast down, you're waiting for everything to happen. And I kind of looked up, and they're pilgrims because you looked at their boots, all different ages. And the last person who walked in was someone I had met on the Camino Frances in 2013. It was her first Camino then, and now she was leading groups. So, I mean, that making that move to get out of the Untitled, take a taxi, it was just brilliant. So it was really.
So you're not one of those who say that you have to walk every single kilometer. Every once in a while, you do a different plan and you make decisions based on what you find.
Yes, most of the time, those are the only 2 taxis we took. And short distance, very short distance. And we took them because we were absolutely fried. We certainly weren't going to walk another 9 kilometers. So we had no problem with that. I mean, certainly we walked at least the last 100 kilometers or more.
As I am sure you do. So how far would you walk a day, and what would be your average, your longest, and your shortest day?
The shortest day was 12 kilometers. And that was because the next day was going to be 16 or 17 kilometers. And we thought, no, we don't want that. So this particular route, there are some days you'll walk 12 and some days you'll walk 30. So you have to kind of pace yourself that way as well. And because you don't, at my age, and we were all in our 70s, you don't want to be walking 30 kilometers on 3 or 4 consecutive days, or you're not going to enjoy yourself. I mean, we're there to enjoy ourselves and to see things, see country, and and meet people. So it was nice.
So when you're walking, do you have a plan for 3 or 4 days, or do you just plan that day, or do you book ahead? Tell us about your planning.
The planning is look at the guidebook, see how far it is to the next one, look at the next day, and judge, okay, we can walk this far today. And if we walk this far today, then we'll be walking this far tomorrow. That place has a restaurant and a bank. Yeah, we'll need those. We'll need to stop there. So that's the amount of planning. We never, ever called ahead. Never booked ahead.
Okay.
You don't need to on this route. There's lots and lots of space.
Lots of space.
Well, because it's a less known route. It's less traveled. The time to go is in the fall or the spring because the summer it's too hot. So, for instance, we started in Zamora on October the 3rd. We flew out of here on October 1st. Well, September 30th, got to Madrid on October 1st. But we started walking on October 3rd. It was 27 degrees by 10 or 11. That's hot. But it's because you're in October, the sun is rising at around 8:30 in the morning. So you're leaving in the dark or just the early morning sunrise around 8:15, 8:30. The hospitaleros are not kicking you out. They don't want to kick you out in the dark because it's not safe, particularly. And it's 6 or 7 degrees.
Ooh.
And so you got your toque on and your mitts on, heading out in the dark. And then by 10 o'clock, the jackets are coming off. By 11 o'clock, it's 27. And you're thinking, where's the next water stop? Have I got enough water? That's key. Okay. So we made the mistake one day of not filling up at lunch. We just completely forgot. And we barely made it to the albergue.
So 2 questions from that. One is then you have to bring more clothes than during the earlier time because you're talking about cold and warm temperatures. So you had a big difference as far as what you carried and the type of clothing that you brought.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm a winter pilgrim. So for me, it's the same. I haven't done a summer pilgrimage. I don't know, 2013, it was summer pilgrimage, I guess, would be May, June. 2013 was April. So that was 2007 was the last time I walked in heat. And that was the Camino del Norte. So it was rainy.
Yeah. It's easier to put clothes on than take them all off.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always have either a poncho or my Gore-Tex rain jacket. So
And do you
with
have
me.
some sort of insulated stuff that you also bring?
Yeah, I bring my puff jacket,
Your puff
which I
jacket.
have to wear around this house on a cold day like this.
Oh, so
So,
you'd have your poncho, your puff jacket, and then your shirt, so you have lots of layers.
well, yeah, I have merino wool. I do one to wash, one to wear, so
Yeah.
I'm really not carrying very much.
And what was your pack? How much would it weigh?
15 pounds.
Okay, so you tried to keep it within
Yeah,
the 10%.
yeah. Because
Okay,
I take one pair of pants and I take a skirt.
okay,
For the hot days, I want to be in a skirt.
okay. I try not to. I just bring
Well,
extra pants. Anyhow, so what guidebook did you use? And did you use any apps? Or how did you prepare for that?
there's the guidebook. Gerald Kelly, very nice guy. And so and actually, the interesting thing about this is a print to order. So when you order a book, you're getting basically the latest edition. He also has a PDF version. He has an app now. We just use the book. We found it great because it's so well signed. You don't have to have the book out all the time, and the route is well waymarked, and you're it's not like you're going to get lost in a large town. The only town you could get lost would be Orense.
Okay. So in other words, there's lots of arrows or like on
Yeah,
the trail. Even a
yeah.
person like me couldn't get lost.
Oh, probably could get lost. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you where we did get lost. Coming out of Zamora, you know, like someone, just the guidebooks all say, well, come out of Zamora and then just go straight ahead, or you just keep straight on or something. But in fact, if you follow an arrow, the only arrow that you see when you're outside of the town kind of goes to the left. You think, huh, well, yeah, I guess we're eventually going to our left. I didn't think it was this early, but we will. So we were, I don't know, 2, 3 kilometers down the road when a car came up and the guy said, which Camino are you walking? Are you walking to the one that goes to Portugal? We said, no. He said, well, then you want to go back. So we got lost our first day.
It's a good start. If you get lost the first day, it keeps you more aware.
Yeah, but we didn't get lost after that at all.
Excellent. And so you didn't use GPS or anything else or any booking.com or any other apps?
The places we stayed at, I don't think would be connected to booking.com because this was 2000. This was the fall of 2016.
And it's basically use cash. You didn't use Interact or MasterCard or anything else like that.
Always cash. Always cash.
And how often did you get replenished in cash?
Yeah, I tend to take 200 euro, keep 200 euro with me. So the whole trip was 500 euros. So I'm not going to leave much more. Oh, we did use our credit card once. I'll tell you the little story. Do you want a
Sure,
little story?
you can do a story.
We found getting into Orense was a tough day. It was long, was 26, 27 kilometers, undulating, and that last stretch, as you know, the last stretch, especially coming into a town, it's not that it was ugly. It's just that you saw the town Orense, and there's nothing there. You still can't see the town. So you got this feeling, I'm nearly there. So it was a struggle to get there, no doubt about it. And as we're approaching the town, we're saying, well, what do we do? Do you want to stay in kind of a private albergue for one night, and then we'll switch over to the Junta albergue or the convent albergue the second night? Well, that's probably a good idea because we wanted to spend a day in Orense. As we get closer, we're thinking, why don't we just find a hotel? Okay, that's a good idea. So as we're coming in, we see, the little lady sitting at a street corner having a cup of coffee. And I said, ¿Dónde es un hotel? And she said, hostel, albergue. I said, no albergue, no hostel, hotel. Oh, and so she points me on. We just kept getting pointed on. We asked an old guy on the bridge. So we now walk 2 kilometers still no closer to anywhere as far as we could see we're entering the city. Then we met this young woman, and I asked her in my lousy Spanish, was there a hotel? She said, a hotel. I said, sí. And then this fluent English comes out, and she had studied English in Wales for 6 months. She was a lawyer. She said, come with me. She's going in the opposite direction. Come with me. There, she took us to about another 4 blocks, and she pointed to this hotel, 4-star hotel. We walked in. We said, we'd like a room, please. We showed a credit card. They didn't charge us. They showed it. Went up. It was just wonderful. There were towels. There were sheets. It was quiet. And we just collapsed. And then we kind of searched around about 2 hours later after spending many hours in the shower, a hot shower with big towels. And we went off, and I think we had a beer and some tapas, came back, had another little lie down on these wonderful beds. And I said, we could stay another night. And my friend said, yeah, we could, couldn't we? And we said, yeah, because our husbands are paying for this, aren't they? I said, I'm going downstairs. So I said, could we have another night? And their pilgrim rate was €50 for the night for this fantastic room. And it was €25 each. Yeah, €50 for, but we didn't know that. I'm booking the second room. We still have no idea how much we're paying until I said, could you just tell me how much we're going to be paying for this? He told me. So we actually, our credit cards, for one reason or other, would not work when we checked out of the hotel. So we paid cash there as well.
So you're talking about €25 each for sharing a room.
Yeah.
Less than $40.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, it was a 4-star hotel. I mean, everything was beautiful and quiet and beautiful. I mean, they couldn't do enough for us. It was lovely.
Excellent.
I was just going to say, at that point in the Camino, you've got another 100 kilometers to go, a little more than 100 kilometers to go. And we kind of needed that nice rest.
We also do our Caminos like that too.
Yeah.
So can you tell us any of the challenging moments you had during this Camino?
The one that I mentioned of walking into the Albergue in C and realizing that this was not the mood we wanted for that night. I guess that was it. The feeling of overwhelm was, we can't do this, and the walk into Orense. Those two were the challenging things that we had, I think. And I think that's all. I can talk about food if you want. You want me to talk about food? I can talk about food.
Before you do talk about food, was it also hard to hit the bigger towns, like when you went to Santiago and you had all these people there? Was that tough to take?
No, because we had both been to Santiago a couple of times, at least a couple of times. So we were kind of looking forward to going, just going to our favorite tapas bar and that kind of thing. We didn't have that approach avoidance feeling that we had on our very first Camino.
Okay.
Because my friend and I did our first Camino together in '99. And we had both had that approach avoidance, that last day, and being bewildered by Santiago.
Yeah, that was my point. My point is sometimes you go on a quiet route and you hit a large population center, and it's often hard to take mentally and emotionally. Mm-hmm. And so that is something you have to prepare for.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, our day in Orense was not visiting churches and museums and everything else. Orense used to be the R&R town for the Roman soldiers because it's got all these natural hot pools. So that's what we were doing. We were, spending several hours getting to it on this little train, picking out which hot pool we wanted to go to and coming back. It was a day of relaxation.
Sounds terrible. So that sounds like a rewarding moment. Is there any other highlights that you'd like to share with us?
The highlights are kind of food related.
Go ahead.
We pulled into one town, and it said, there's this albergue here, and it was fine because it wasn't bunks; it was all just single beds. And then there was apparently a good restaurant, had good reviews beside it. Well, we had a tuna pate, soup with seafood. We didn't want the pork, so we have a salad, beautiful white asparagus and a salad with everything in it, and then a dessert to die for. And this Chef Tio does this for pilgrims. I mean, there were townsfolk coming in and enjoying this as well, but the food is unbelievable, beautifully plated. But the other is called Me Gusta Comer. I love to eat, and that's kind of my philosophy of life, right? But I think the very best meal we had was in a place called Lubien. But as we approached this town of Lubia, very, very small, here are the boys having their beer and head down because there was Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was on. So we joined them for a beer, and where's the albergue? It's down there. But Roberto's going to make dinner. And we looked at Roberto, and he said, yeah, I'm going to make dinner, €5 each. I said, hey, great. We did not know then that Roberto was a chef at a 3-star Michelin star restaurant in San Sebastian, and he had just left that place. So we said, we'd like to come with you to the market. He obviously knew what he was doing. We went to the one store, and he picked up these frozen chicken and pasta and a few other things. And so off we went, and he just went through the store, talking very nicely to the owners of the store, and we'd like chicken, and he's using frozen chicken, and we're going to be eating in an hour and a half, and he's buying frozen pieces of chicken, like rock frozen, and some noodles and some bread and some wine and some lettuce. So then he says, are there any tomatoes? No. He said, okay, that's fine. We're making dinner at the albergue. Fine. So we troop back. He starts chopping onions and garlic and all this kind of stuff. Wouldn't you know, within 10 minutes, some villagers show up with tomatoes, peppers, and celery. Because pilgrims had come to their town. They're going to help. We sat down to the most wonderful soup and then pasta. We couldn't believe it. And it was so much fun watching this man work. We said, can we help? He said, sure. Do you want to chop that up? And in the time it took me to chop an onion up, and I chop onions up all the time. I know how to do it. He would have 3 more. So that was really fun. And for just the 6 of us to enjoy this meal around the table at the albergue that was a real highlight.
That was the cheapest Michelin restaurant you ever hit.
No kidding. I mean, at the restaurant he works in, people pay €230 for the meal without the wine.
Well, you got the bargain of your life, so that's very good for frugal.
I did.
Anyhow, so do you have any closing remarks other than that why you would encourage anyone to go to the Camino Sanabres?
It's beautiful. It's quiet. Don't go in the summer. It would be stifling hot. And in the winter, because there's some elevations, you're at 1,300 meters. You don't want to be there in the winter because it would just be too cold and fairly dangerous, a lot of snow and everything else. So the spring or the fall. The people are lovely. Everyone, all the villagers are very happy to see you. We really enjoyed it. I would always recommend it because the scenery too is wonderful.
Excellent. Well, first I'd like to say thank you very much. You were great to interview and have a chat about this. It makes me and Dennis want to go on the Camino Sanabres, so congratulations. And I really thank you for sharing all your experience. It was fabulous. Thanks, Mary.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.